Marketing 401, week number one, social media strategy. Again, I'm Dr. David Hawkins, and this is going to be the first video for the content of the course. We'll be looking at the marketing communication models. We'll look at these individually, then we'll end up blending them together. So what I want to do is cover these three areas first as a background, foundation of which the rest of the course will be built on. And it's, to me, very important that we use that we are using, excuse me just a second here. I'm having some problems with my slides. Very important that we have definitions. And so we'll use one or two definitions, and then we'll come back and take a look at some other things. All right, so I'm still having some problems with my slides. Let's see if we can do something a little bit different here. We'll see if this works. Okay. So we'll start off with the marketing mix, and then we'll take a look at the communication mix, communication model, and then we'll blend these two together here. So moving into definition of marketing, and I say that every time I click the button that the camera is going to go away. So we'll just have to get by with it. Marketing is a process. It's not a single event. It is a series of events that we have to do in order. It is something that's very important. And when people think of marketing, quite often they think that marketing is advertising, it's selling, it's some kind of promotional activity, and it's not. Marketing involves all of these elements that I've listed. And notice I use the ing ending. These are ongoing activities that we are producing, we're distributing, we're promoting, and we're selling products. And we're putting those products on the shelf. We're putting those products out into the marketplace at a price in which the customer is willing to pay. So we can put anything out there in the marketplace, and if we put enough price on it that we think that we need to cover our cost, if it's more than what the customer is willing to pay for it, it won't sell. And so we end up with no money. So we need to keep in mind that one of the elements, one of the major concepts of marketing is that we have to put an item out there in the marketplace at a price that customers are willing to pay. And then they get to choose how they spend their money. Here's a picture of a market. And this is where you have people who would come up underneath the tents, and they would bring all of their goods that they had made, their fruits and vegetables they grew, artwork that they have maybe created, other things that they have put together, and they come out as vendors to these central locations to sell their goods. Customers would come by to the marketplace and spend hours walking up and down and seeing what was available and how much would it cost. And then they would turn around and decide whether or not to buy. So one of the key ideas in marketing is the exchange. When I decide to make that purchase, I take an item from you, which has taken your time and effort to make, and I give you my money. You turn around and take my money and you go buy raw materials. Those raw materials are probably what somebody else has spent time. Eventually, marketing involves exchanging money for time and skills. And it's that exchange between the producer or the retailer, the seller, and the consumer that is the most important action in the economy. And it's that trade with money and with time and skill that ends up improving the livelihood of each player in that transaction. So both sides win. And at the macro level, at the national level, when you have a large number of producers, large number of distributors and retailers, a large number of consumers, all exchanging money for some product or some service, and it benefits both, our standard of living goes up. So marketing is an extremely important discipline within a national economy and society as a whole. Now, in the marketing mix, there are the 4 Ps, and I base everything off of the 4 Ps. It's easy to teach. Students typically get it. I recognize that in books, there's different models, there's different variations, there's changes, alternatives to it. I get it. I like to use the 4P model because it's easy and it's simple, and it's something that most students can remember. In the 4 Ps, the first P, number 1, is product. Here is a list of the differences between the tangible goods, such as a piece of paper, a lawnmower, a ladder, a couch, a vehicle, a house, versus services, a haircut, dental work, landscaping, painting, anything of that nature. So those are services. And here's the comparison between the two. So product is number 1. The next element in the marketing mix is place. And notice I have these in order. We have to have our product first. Question is, what are we selling? Once we decide that, the question is, where are we going to be selling it? How will customers get to us, get to our location in order to buy it from us? So place is dependent upon the product. So here is a list of the attributes of place based upon whether it's a physical good or if it is a service. The third one is price. Price is dependent upon product and place. So if I sell it direct, I can sell it to you cheaper than if I have to go through a middleman. If I go through a middleman, I have to make a profit to stay in business. The middleman is paying me. He's now invested his money into inventory. He's going to store it, which is in a building. He's going to have to transport it, which increases his cost. Then he's got to sell it to you. And that takes a higher price coming to you. So he has to make a profit. What happens if that wholesaler sells it to a retailer? That retailer buys it, stores it, puts it in inventory, invests his money, and then has to turn around and sell it to you. So now you got 2 people in the channels of distribution. They all have to make money. So price goes up. Now, there are differences with price, but my point is this: price is dependent upon the channels of distribution. Then after we get through the pricing questions, then we end up with promotion. Promotion is completely different between goods and services. When it comes to the tangible good, I want to know the durability of it. I want to know what's the benefit. I want to know where to go get it. I may be concerned about the pricing, how I'm going to pay for it. When it comes to services, the number 1 quality for services is it reliable? Because I can't return it. If you do something for me, I cannot, such as mow my yard, and I don't like it, I cannot put the grass back and not pay you. So I have to be able to trust you. So reliability. Also, on promotion, word of mouth is one of the most important elements in promoting and advertising and supporting a company and getting new customers. And this is what we'll be talking about for the next 7 weeks, social media. Basically, that's what social media is. It's word of mouth. Word of mouth is where a customer or a retailer, somebody other than the seller, ends up sharing that information with somebody else who will turn around and go purchase something. And that's what social media is doing. Then we have what is called the product mix. Product mix is the variety of products that a company is going to sell. It can range anywhere from different sizes, different colors, different scents, different applications, different tastes, different textures, materials, locations. Location would be under place, but all kinds of varieties inside a product mix. Inside the place mix, we have a variety of retailers and locations where you can go get your items. Every now and then, you'll see somebody had it exclusively at. They limited their distribution through one store and one store only. Typically with that guarantees that particular outlet to get more sales, and they can probably charge a higher price because there's no competition for them. And that's legal in some situations. But in the place mix, somebody who is offering a common practice or a common product, they may want to have their product in as many locations, and they don't care what kind of location it is, but they want as many outlets as possible, such as soft drinks and vending machines, convenience stores, grocery stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. All of those are available refrigerated, and they're available in convenience stores because they know that to sell that 20-ounce bottle, that 18-ounce bottle of soft drink, the more locations they have, more vending machines they have, more refrigerated outlets they have, the more sales they have. So place mix is very important. Next is pricing mix. Pricing mix, keep in mind, is not only the retail price, it's also the method of payment. How can you pay? I've noticed here recently when I walk in to some of the stores in my area, they have a sign on the cash register. They're unable to get pennies now. And they're telling everybody that if you pay cash, you have to round it up or down to the nearest nickel. So now, if you're paying cash, you may have to pay a few cents more because they will not give you any pennies and change. However, if you're still paying with a debit card or a credit card, you still have to pay the pennies. They don't round it up or down by paying that. But then also you've got other different types of pricing strategies that work. The promotional mix. This is what we'll focus on in this particular course. Promotional mix is a variety of communication that are involved in getting your company, your brand, your logo, your products out into the marketplace. Typically, the most common factors are listed here. These are controlled by the manufacturers, the retailers, the company, but social media may have a significant influence by the consumer or maybe even the general public, and that's the purpose of this particular course. So when we talk about the mixes, the marketing mix, keep in mind that each of the 4 Ps can be expanded into more finer details, more smaller units, and then collectively they are classified as a mix by themselves. So when we talk about marketing strategy, we talk about 2 things. One, tactics, and to me, this is what you do. So in social media strategy, the tactic is, what did you post? What did you write? Your reply is what you do. I've heard people actually go online and do interviews with local TV stations, local radio stations, and they'll talk about what's going on in their company, what they're doing. And then they frequently will direct people back to their homepage, their web page, their landing page, maybe to their Facebook page, maybe to an Instagram, maybe to a TikTok page. They direct them in that interview to a social media outlet. So that interview is what I say, that's what you do. You're conducting an interview. Also, print advertising. Print advertising, even today, has a lot of connections going back to your landing page. And then on your landing page, you have connections and icons directing you to Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, or some other type of things. So when I talk about strategy, I break it down into 2 things. Number 1 is your tactics. What do you do? What do you do? And then the second thing, I take a look at strategy, and I break strategy down into 2 different elements. 1 is called the assignment, and 2 is called the timing. So when I talk about assignment, my question is this: who's going to do it? Who do you assign to handle a particular issue? Who do you assign to handle a particular social media response or outpouring, gripe, something that just goes viral? Who handles it? What person? What department? Maybe your legal team needs to handle it. Maybe your PR team needs to handle it. Number 2, what resources are you going to assign to address this? For example, do we put a lot of resources into it in terms of money, time, effort? Do we put a lot of personnel resources into it? How many people are going to be going out into the community and addressing what has become a viral story that actually is not true? What channels do we use? What sites? Do we put it everywhere? Do we just put it on one or two on the original posting site? What do we do with it? And then how much time do we dedicate to it? How much money do we spend? How much space do we dedicate on our website in our reports? So to me, this is part of strategy, is assigning. We are assigning certain resources to handle a specific issue. The second thing in part of strategy is not only the assignment, but it's also the timing. When do we do it? What time of day? What time of the month? What time of the year do we do it? Are we around a holiday? Are we around a national federal holiday? Are we around a religious holiday? Are we around payday? Are we around the launch of a new product? When do we do it? Also, what do we do first? What do we follow up with second? When do we come out with a third response or a fourth response if we go that far? Is this something that we are going to address for a long period of time? Is this something we're going to say it's not true and give some facts and we're going to ignore it from then on? What are we going to do in terms of timing? So to me, I take strategy and break it down into assignment. What are we assigning to handle this issue? And then we take it and we look at the timing issues on it. Now, let's come back and review the channels of distribution, because this is important as we move into social media. In the channels of distribution, we always start off with the producer or the manufacturer. They're at the top. Now, some people will sit there and say, what about raw materials? Well, raw materials are coming from the producer. They're the ones who are digging or drilling and coming up with the raw materials. So we got the producer and the manufacturer at the top. Directly below them, we have the wholesaler or the warehouser. These are the people who actually collect from different resources, bring it in, and they store it. They're offering space, cubic space, to store all of this inventory for a particular amount of time. Then they will turn around and they will end up selling it to some kind of retailer or a store. And then you and I, as the consumer and the end user, then we go to the store and we buy it. Now, in the true channels of distribution, there's only these four functions. However, there may be multiple players at different levels. So you could have 3 or 4 different wholesalers and warehousers. A warehouser could be also an importer, somebody who's buying it and storing it coming off of the ship. They turn around and sell it to another warehouse. That warehouse will turn around and sell it to a wholesaler. That wholesaler will turn around and sell it to a store and have it shipped to one of their contracted warehousers. And then it ends up in the local store. So by the time me and you pick up an item and pay for it and get home with it, they might have gone through 5 or 6 different players in the market. However, 2, 3, or 4 of them may have been doing the exact same thing. So it's important to understand the difference between the functions in the channels of distribution versus the number of people and positions in the channels of distribution. And that's important as we come up in a few minutes. Next, I want to go over in a very simplified manner the communication model. In the communication model, we always start on the left-hand side with the sender. This is also can be called the source. This is the person who comes up with an idea, typically some abstract idea in their mind, and they want to convert that abstract idea, feeling, or something into some kind of concrete message, some way, somehow. And we got to get that message over to the receiver. Now, we end up sending that message through what is called a channel. And we send it through this channel over to the receiver that they have access to. And hopefully, whenever we come up with this message and we encode it, is the official word, whenever we encode it and we send it through this channel that the receiver has access to, that when they see the message, hopefully they will understand exactly what we intended for them to understand. Now, again, I said this is a very simplified version of the communication model. Now, let's make an application to social media and the channels of distribution of what we're talking about here. So we still start off with the basic sender on the left and the receiver on the right. and we still have the channel in the middle here. So what we're going to do is the sender is going to be the original equipment manufacturer, the producer, the supplier, or whoever, and we're going to end up creating some kind of message, send it through some kind of channel, and send it over to a receiver, our target audience. So in marketing, what do we do? Well, the message is going to be either one of two different types of messages. It's going to be information. Again, I typically put those information elements as one of the 4 Ps, either product quality, characteristics, functionality, color, size, shape, benefits, pricing, where it's located, how you can pay for it, even look here to download a coupon or something of that nature. Or it's a persuasion type of message. This is a limited offer. We have only 4 available. Limited price while supplies last. And then if you go on the home shopping network, sometimes you'll see a counter up there, and that number is getting smaller because they have only so many in inventory. And as people buy it and order it, that number is decreasing rapidly. And so they're trying to persuade you to go ahead and buy it. My question is, do they really have that many items in inventory? Is that many people actually watching this show at this time, calling that number, buying that particular product in that particular color and size? I doubt it. But that number ticking down is an attempt to persuade you to get on the phone, get online, and place an order. But then you got the two that blend together. And typically, that's probably where most of our messages lie. In the channels, these are the channels, what I call the tools. And I've listed the big, broad description. So in print, you got paper. I even put billboards in print because you have to print it. And then you'll see guys out there stretching out these large sheets of paper and mounting it on billboards. So anything that comes off of a printer, I call print. Verbal can be sales, person-to-person selling, advertising on TV. It can be maybe somebody outside barking a call. I see that sometimes at flea markets. The Texas Fair just wrapped up. Sometimes you'll have people out there inviting you to come into their particular booth to eat. I call that advertising as opposed to personal selling, because they're not selling to me. They're selling to everybody who can hear them. So to me, that's more advertising. And then, of course, you got your typical media outlet that's been around for a while. And then also very popular is sponsorships and public relations. Now, let's go a little bit more deeper into the communication model and blending the communication and the channels of distribution model. Typically, in the promotional mix, involving integrated marketing communication, this is where we take all of these different messages, tools, the content, and we put them all together in order to communicate what we want our customers to hear. So again, let's start off on the left-hand side with the original equipment manufacturer or the producer. Then let's also throw in the wholesaler and the retailer for this reason. I'm calling this the top-down model. Monodirectional means mono is one, and so it is coming from the top going down. And then here are all of the different types of tools that are being used from the manufacturer to the wholesaler to the retailer to the consumer, or it can be the manufacturer, the producer is also making sales calls to the wholesaler, the retailer, and the consumers. They can target all 3. The wholesaler can communicate with other wholesalers. They can communicate with retailers and with consumers. So it's not just direct one-on-one, but the higher up you go, the more potential audiences you have. Also, the retailer is going to come in and they can be targeting the consumer, and they'll be spending the majority of their time communicating with the consumer because, again, this is top down. But every now and then, retailers will communicate with other retailers. on that. So in integrated marketing communications, this is where you take up all of these different types of messages, putting them in all of these different channels here, and you're sending that message over to the target audience on the right-hand side. Now, there's also a communication model, which is traditional, and it's the bottom up. This is also monodirectional. Notice this starts on the right-hand side. Again, go back to our channels of distribution and start at the bottom and go up. So when we do that, the consumer is going to be talking to the retailer. Retailer is going to be talking to the wholesaler. Wholesaler is going to be talking to the producer and the manufacturer. And normally, whenever we are talking about bottom up information, we're talking about market research. This is where I'm asking people in the marketplace questions, and they're giving me information that I need to know. I may ask the question, but the information is going from the bottom up. Also, you can have complaints. Complaints go from the bottom going up. And I've listed out a couple of different types of complaints that people will use. And it's not just maybe verbal complaints, but it's also action complaints. So keep in mind, communication involves verbal and nonverbal communication. So I don't like something, I take it back. I get my product from Amazon. It's not exactly what I wanted. I send it back and I get a refund. So somebody's going to hear something. Here, the message starts on the right and it goes up or it goes back to the left. Again, what is extremely important, whether it is top down or bottom up, it is extremely important that we understand that the message that was sent equals the message that was received and understood. That is extremely important, that the message sent was the message intended to be sent. We use the right words, and it's also the message that was understood by the audience. Now, if I'm on the left-hand side and my customers are complaining, my first question is, did they use the right words? Did they explain why they are unhappy? Did the store, the retailer, did they actually tell me what's going on? Or did they simply say, these aren't selling anymore? That's not information. That means nothing to me. I need to know why it's not selling anymore. Has a competitor come in with another product that's cheaper? Has a competitor come in with another product that is better? Has a competitor come in with a substitute that my particular product can't match? Have people in the marketplace who used to buy my product, have they moved? Have they left? Has the demographics changed? Has something gone on in the marketplace that I don't know about? Simply telling me that it doesn't sell anymore is not information. That's just data. So it's very important that the message being sent is the message that's being received. And sometimes, and I'm sure you've heard this phrase before, sometimes we have to pull it out of them in order to get it. So these are the traditional channels of marketing, supply chain, traditional communication model, simplified version, top down, bottom up. Now, let's make it a little bit more realistic. Put it in the context of our particular course and topic here. Our course with social media is a little bit more chaotic. It is significantly more chaotic. So we still have the manufacturer, we still have the channel members, and notice I put them together in a group. Today's world, a lot of people, especially like in marketing, they no longer have an entire staff of marketing. They may have very few people who do marketing. They hire marketing companies to do it in its projects. You may have an in-house legal team that may be one or two people. They hire law firms to handle any legal issues, to look at contracts, negotiate, or to sell any lawsuits, to file lawsuits. They don't have in-house counsel to do that anymore. They do it with an external source. Those are contractors. Illustration purposes, to keep it easy for us for tonight, because I think you'll get the idea. I just listed two particular end users, named them 1 and 2, but very original here. You got the general public. I listed general public are people who are going to know about us, but they may not actually be buying from us. There's a lot of companies I know about. I know about Nike. Everybody knows about Nike. I do not wear Nike shoes. I wear another type of brand, but I know about them. So I would be considered in the general public. And then you've got today, we use the word influencer on social media. Back when I was in school, we called them spokesperson. And we watched and we followed the companies that hire typically athletes to be a spokesperson. Sometimes they were politicians, somebody who was well known, somebody who had a lot of respect and integrity, somebody people could look at and say, oh, I know that person. I can relate to them. Company would hire them, and that spokesperson would carry the message for them. Today, we have influencer. To me, you're still a spokesperson. They're speaking on behalf of a company, or maybe they're speaking on behalf of the general public, or maybe they're speaking on behalf of buyers and consumers. So to me, a spokesperson is still a spokesperson. It just depends upon which way the arrow is going and the source of the information. Now, here's where it gets complicated. As I told you earlier, those were simple views, top down, bottom up. Now it gets a little bit more complicated here. Now the OEM is still communicating with the contractor, the end users, and the general public. Then everybody in the channel member is going to be communicating with the contractors and the end users and the general public. And then the contractor is going to be doing the same thing. Next thing you know, everybody in this channel is communicating with everybody else. That is a whole lot more complicated than what we looked at a couple of slides ago. A whole lot more arrows involved, a whole lot more channels, a whole lot more content, a whole lot more opportunities, significant amount of opportunities for that message to be misunderstood, be misconstrued, be misinterpreted, may even be factually incorrect, but is still believed depending upon who says it. And so now the communication model in today's world with the internet, smartphones, and social media is significantly more complicated. Now, how complicated? Well, let's take a look. Here we got 2, 4, 6. We have 7 different positions in the marketplace. Now, keep in mind, I showed you earlier, we have 7 or 4 different functions, not necessarily players, 4 different functions in the channels of distribution. And in the top down, a lot of time, the person on top is the one who did the controlling. If a store wanted to advertise a product on sale, they might have to get permission from the producer or their supplier. And so it was very simple back then. But today, here, and it could even be more complicated than this. I try to make it simple for us. We have 7 positions, and 7 positions open up 21 possible channels. Now, keep this in mind. I said channels, not messages. How do I come up with that particular number? It's a very simple formula. You take the number of positions that you have times the number of positions minus 1, so 7 times 6 is 42, divided by 2, and that gives you 21. If we went back to slide number 23, get ready to count. I'll go back there. Watch the arrows and count them as they move. There are 21 different potential channels of communication now in the marketplace. So let's take a look back at the different channels. So get ready to count. Here we go. Now, keep in mind, 7 different positions. means that there are at least 7 different potential sources of information going through multiple channels to multiple audiences, and you can see where the top-down model doesn't work anymore. So what we know is this. If we're a company dealing in today's world, what we know is this. What we know is the message. Either it's the message that we wrote or it's the message that we have been informed about. That's what we know. What we also know is probably the channel that we heard it from, or the channel that we have been directed to go and look. It was posted. It's on viral. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. It's on X. It's on LinkedIn. It's on Twitter. It's on TikTok. It's everywhere now. So we know the one channel that it was posted, and maybe even potential more channels that are out there. What we don't know, and the challenge is this: we don't know what all of the channels are that is out there. So the question is, if we don't know what all the channels are, which channel do we respond to? That's why I say, what's our marketing strategy? What's our communication strategy? Which one do we pick? Which channel do we assign to be our official spokes channel, where our message as a company goes out to the general marketplace? Something else that may happen is we don't know who the sender is. There may be a name attached to that account, but is that name real? Is that a real person? Is that a real company? Is it even worthwhile trying to find out who the actual person is? And if we did, what are we going to do about it? We're going to sue them? Yeah, that could open up a whole lot more problems. Spend a lot more time and money and effort attacking somebody. That's not worth it. Also, who was the intended receiver? We don't know. Now, we know who all got it, but we don't know who the original receiver was. And then we probably may not even know who all of the potential receivers are. You can see really quick where this mistake or this gets out of hand really quick. Oh, and I just happened to notice a mistake. Audience. As I type on these, every now and then I'll look down and we'll hit a button and miss something. So I'll get that corrected. But what we don't know is who's the one who started it? What's their objective? What are they trying to do? Why are they doing it? Where are they? And can we even respond to it? So here's how this relates to your particular assignment. What I need you to do is locate a company that's local. And this is in the syllabus in more detail. Find a company that is local that you can get access to. In the process of getting access to them, and we could talk about this in week number 2, how to do that. Ask them for a quick, brief interview. When you first reach out to them, let's say the individual's name. Let's say that it's John Jones. Mr. John Jones, I'm David Hawkins. I'm a marketing student at Westcliff University, taking a marketing class in social media. Have a few questions I'd like to discuss with you in person. If you could give me 15 minutes of your time to help me out on this particular assignment, and I would appreciate it very much. Here are the 3 or 4 topics I'd like to ask you. Number 1, what is your core values of your company? How do you promote those core values to your internal audience and employees? How do you communicate that to the external audience, the marketplace? Number 2, how do you promote your particular products? How do you promote that to the end user or to your particular consumer? Number 3, what are your channels or tools that you use for social media? And then number 4, what do you monitor? That nobody should be really intimidated by those 4 questions. Very short, simple, sweet, direct. Most of it's going to be public information. You're not looking for anything that's highly secretive or competitive advantage that they want to hold dear to them. It's not going to be proprietary. It's not going to be, detrimental to them. If somebody finds out, hey, we monitor Facebook, who cares? Everybody does that. So when you get that approval, or what I need from you is identify the company you want to go after, and then send it to me in an email. In your subject line, put MKT401, Marketing 401, and put group assignment company, and then identify the name and the location. I would like for you to identify maybe their physical location if they've got it, or at least a URL so I can take a look at their web page and confirm that it is an actual company. Your assignment, real short and simple, the description is in the syllabus. Your assignment is to match what is posted on social media to what the company is trying to do. That's it. Now, don't tell them you're trying to match and see. Just ask them those simple questions. What do you do? How do you promote it? How do you get that message information out there? What kind of products, communication do you sell to your potential customers or users of your products? What social media tools do you use and which ones do you monitor? And what you want to do is go and find out, do a comparison, contrasting, like I said in the assignment description video. What you want to do is come back and take a look and see if what they say they want to do is matching what is actually out there in social media. You want to see if what they say matches what is said in the interview. You want to see if what is said in social media about them matches what they said in the interview. You want to see if what is said in social media about them matches what they say in social media. And so just kind of pair up all of those outlets and the message, see what is common, what themes are unified through all of the different channels. See if you can find any dates. See if you can find any geographic location. And especially if you're looking on any kind of reviews, Google reviews or other type of outlets that have customer reviews, maybe check and see how many other reviews that particular poster has responded to. And see if you can pick up any kind of themes. That is your major assignment for this course. As we move through chapters or through week 2 through 8, we'll be building on what we introduced here tonight. Again, as I mentioned earlier, as we go through this, I will present some more information outside of the context and content of the book. And if you have any questions, feel free to interject, raise your hand, interrupt me if possible, and then we'll address it and maybe have to do some research on my end, and maybe you can share some information with me. So that wraps up our third video for the evening, and that concludes the videos for week number 1. So write this up in a summary and post it to get your VCS participation and attendance marked for week number 1.